yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Chairs up here. Anybody need a chair up here?
So, Paul Finucane is my name, and I'm just going to introduce the four exhibitors. What we're going to do is get each of them just to talk for a few minutes about themselves and about their work, if that's okay. So, I think what people would just like to know, Trish, is a little bit about yourself and a bit about your work. So, you want to start off by telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I didn't always paint and draw. I started off my life, first of all, as an architectural technician, and I worked at that job for, I suppose, 16 years. But I suppose my heart was always in the art world, so I kind of specialised in artist impressions, pen and ink drawings, using pens very similar to Nathalie here. And I tried sign writing. I was trying to get away from construction for a long and many a day. And then I did other jobs after the building construction. I was a trail manager, which was brilliant, but I finally bit the bullet and started going back to night classes, I suppose in 2017 at Crawford, and finally got back into painting and drawing. And then COVID was another blessing in disguise for me in a funny way, because it gave me more time, and I think everybody had a change of heart in their life during that time. And then about, I suppose, 3 years ago, that was it, I says, with the permission of himself and the mortgage gone, I just started painting and drawing full time. I suppose for me, pastels was a good transition from drawing by hand using pen and pencil, and you're still using your hand. So that was the natural draw for me for using pastels. And also, when I was many moons ago, 30 years ago, trying to get away from architecture, I took classes with Victor Richie, who would be a very well-known pastel artist in Ireland.
I was born into a sort of an artistic family in the sense that my father was Diarmuid O'Çallaghan. He was teacher of painting at Crawford from 1940 to 1970, and he actually was born in Drimoleague, but his parents were living in the city. And he came from quite a poor background, but he won the Taylor Scholarship, and he managed to get himself to go to the NCAD it was the Metropolitan at the time, up in Dublin, and he studied with Sean Keating and Maurice McGonigal. So there was always painting around me, so I always felt, drawn towards, I always wanted to paint and draw as well. So my experience at art college wasn't very good though. I went to art college for a year and a half, and I was basically thrown out. I was expelled. I was told to conform or leave because I rebelled against the system of giving people pieces of paper to be artists, and I didn't feel that the tuition was very good either. So I left and I went to university. I studied English and history. I loved that, and I spent a lot of time in theatre in UCC, and I worked acting. And then when I graduated, I went on to get a professional job with Graffiti Theatre Company in Cork. So I worked with them for about 3 years, and then I moved to Berlin. And when I was in Berlin, I formed a band with my partner Douglas, and we toured all over the place. We had Turkish-Irish speed folk, and I was also painting. And then I came back to Ireland in about 93 when my dad was ill, and I took up painting full time and exhibited in a number of places, and then I went back to Berlin again in 2000. And so, I've been working as a full-time painter really since the mid-90s.
Just to follow on a little bit from Noel, and it'll explain my higgledy-piggledy accent as well, we lived in London till I was 12, and then we moved to the border of Roscommon and Mayo. But my father, he was a really rural Leitrim man, and they lived on a very small holding. They're incredibly poor. And he moved to Birmingham, first of all, when he was about 17. And after he was 17, he then moved to London. But every day after work, what he would do is, as he would say himself, he would go home, he'd have a good wash, and he would go to galleries. And when we were small, on a Sunday, sometimes on a Saturday, mostly on a Sunday, he would bring us to galleries. And I developed such a love of art through him. I got to see fantastic works in London when I was small. In our good living room in London, above the fireplace, on a Sunday you could go in and listen to records and be allowed in there, and Dad would put on his records. And above the fireplace was Constable Flatford Mill. And I know from there, that's where I got my love of skyscapes, of small vignettes, of little details that I'd sit for hours and hours very happily looking at all the details and in the background. And, and I realised that's where my love of rivers, my love of meadows, my love of skies, my love of... Oh, I'm getting all emotional now. And I realised that, and I was extremely lucky. I was extremely lucky to be supported, to have gone to college, and to have to be pushed, and to say, yeah, you know, and be really lucky to have that support behind me. And young people today, to be told it's a silly thing, I disagree with it so much. If you can support somebody to go on to do something you love, like Trish, it was the best thing you ever did, you know? It was the best thing to go on and do something, really follow your passion. And so my passion is really a bit like Trish's, the Irish landscape, seascapes. And I was thinking more about that. I'm thinking about, because wherever you go, I know wherever I go, it's whatever environment I'm in. So if I'm in a city, I realise I'm looking for pattern, I'm looking for lights, I'm looking for design, I'm looking for the difference between light and dark. And then I'm looking at what materials can I use. I'd love to paint that in gouache, I'd love to paint that in oils, I'd love to paint that in whatever materials. And there's so many materials out there, and I'm very lucky to be able to have, you know, all of them. And so that's with my work inside. I really was trying not to make it too higgledy-piggledy is the only word I can think of.
You're West Cork, born and reared?
Yes, you can recognize my West Cork accent, which comes from Belgium. I was I was born in Belgium and living in Belgium until I follow Brian. He's there. He's hiding in the flowers there. And then now we are living in Ireland. But before in Belgium, I used to be a few things, and then a teacher also, art teacher in an art school called Saint-Luc, and I was teaching anatomy and illustration and things like that. And I still like to draw. I don't think there is one day in my life where I don't draw. And yes, my inspiration for this time, I was wondering at the beginning when I knew I had an exhibition, I thought, okay, what will I do? I was doing illustration mainly because I do books also, but for an exhibition, I thought I will go back to painting because I stopped for making a book. And I was really scared because I had no inspiration. I was kind of forced to paint and I didn't have the inspiration. And then one morning I just saw by the window at the top of the hill in front of me, by the Velux of the bedroom, I saw a tree, and the pattern of the tree, the branches were drawing kind of a fish. And I said, that's my inspiration. And then I began to do 1 and 2 and 3, and I do like to draw and to paint things in a place where they're not supposed to be trees in the sky. I like to humanize, and this is the word to say, to make them human, and and to make humans like animals, and to mix also everything in nature all together, all mixed. And I like just to create something new and to be surprised myself, because often when I'm drawing, I begin a drawing and I have no idea what it will give, and then suddenly I see something appearing, and then I follow the idea, and sometimes I'm laughing myself, oh, that's funny. And then,
And Nathalie, the range of your work is quite extraordinary. I mean, from the drawings
to the papier-mâché. When you go into the studio, do you do different things in the same day, or do you have maybe a period where you work exclusively on papier-mâché and then another time? How do you approach your working day, or do you have it planned out in advance, or does it just evolve?
The first thing I do when I get up after my shower, I go to my workshop and I draw. I do my little video, like you can see, and I try to make one a day. And after when I have something in my mind, like a papier-mâché, for example, I'm living with this papier-mâché the whole day, even if I'm in the kitchen doing something else, it's kind of a friend with me, and it's not that I think of it, but I'm really in this like something which is coming with me everywhere, and I just want to go back to my workshop to finish or to continue, and not to finish because it's not to finish the thing. It's just the process which is fun. It's not. I don't necessarily have an idea of what it gives or what it will give. I just do, and the same from the drawing. Something appears, and then I follow, and then I discover. Yeah, but yeah, I'm on one thing at a time, I would say. Yeah.
And using art to illustrate scientific concepts, that's something that you've done in the past and might do again in the future?
I used to be an anatomic teacher, and it was one of the things I wanted to do when I was young. I wanted to go to a school in Strasbourg, and but that was too far from my dad to send me there. Then he said, no, I'll find something else. Then I love everything which is even, in fact my studies were in interior design, and then I like also when it is something with rules to follow, and to be really precise. I love it too. Yeah, and yes, I love everything which is more. It's difficult to say. I don't have the vocabulary. I think to explain that. I like to have rules or also and not, and yes.
Yeah. And a final question: the extent to which your art defines you?
The extent.
What am I trying to say? I mean, you clearly express yourself through your art.
Yeah, I have this chance to do that. I have to say that I'm completely free, which is sometimes we don't know where we go, or we have no idea. It comes through me, I would say. It's difficult to explain. When we have inspiration, it's like we are channeling something. It happens to me anyway. It happens to me. Something happens, and I'm just the tool somehow. And that's why sometimes I'm surprised what happens on the medium.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much to all of our artists. It's nice to have a fully female crew this time. Thanks to Paul for doing his comparing.
When did you do these in Skip? Where were you?
I was a teacher, and I was working with my students.
Quite wide. Okay, everybody.